It sounds like another sort of patented Donald Trump move to, to make some money on trade, and he's done this with his trade negotiations. He's basically had these tariff negotiations with countries, and then said, how much are you going to invest in the U.S.? Give me the number. So this would, from the supporters of this kind of an arrangement, might say, look, we need to provide some access to China for these high-tech chips, so we can get battery technology that they control. So we might as well collect a little toll across the in the process. But opponents would say, that's essentially selling away national security concerns to the U.S.'s strategic rival. So there's a lot that still needs to be answered here. We'll be looking to see what the Trump administration, how they explain this today. But that the U.S. is in ongoing negotiations with China to try to establish reset their trading relationship. And this is just one way it looks like the Trump administration is trying to give China a little bit what it needs, but also pocket some government revenue for the government in the process.
What does this mean for American companies that must be looking at this as a deal and wondering what might they be induced into doing or giving up to be able to expand their businesses if they're thinking about international trade?
Yeah, it really brings up a lot of mixed messages. The Trump administration is going around the world telling companies and countries, you should really not do so much business with China, especially in the high-tech world where, the U.S. and China are in this race to see who can dominate advanced technologies. And so if you're a country and Donald Trump's administration is telling you, you should really decouple from China in these in some of these key industries, they might look across the table at you and say, you're selling it for 15% of the revenue for these chips. So it gets into a whole gray area of global trade that we'll have to see where it ends up, whether this is just a short-term situation to get trade talks with China going again, or whether this is the new long-term policy of the U.S. government.
Yeah, we had someone on TV call it a revenue sharing agreement, which I thought was an odd way to put it. But can you put us in perspective here just how unusual this kind of tax is? I mean, there's not a lot of precedent in modern corporate history for this kind of export tax. And is this something that's even constitutional?
Yeah, you have to wonder whether all of those questions, whether what the answer is to all of those questions. The Trump administration has said in all these trade negotiations about these tariffs, Trump will say, I'm putting a 15% tariff on the European Union. Well, that 15% tariff doesn't go on the European Union. It goes on American importers who import European goods. But the rationale here might be, we'll collect this revenue from Nvidia and AMD, and then China will reimburse them for that. They will raise their prices, and China will ultimately pay that 15%. So we'll have to wait and see what the rationale is. But that's been the pattern from the Trump administration, is to say, we're going to collect this revenue from this other foreign country by way of the American company that actually pays the tariff.